Secretary Yolanda Richardson. She started her position in the beginning of March. We are so excited at Government Operations Agency to have her. She's joining us on this conference call today. I will still be chairing the meeting, but Secretary Richardson will be joining us when we go into closed session to address a personnel matter. So welcome, Secretary Richardson. This is your first VCB board meeting, and we look forward to having you involved in the future board meetings. Michelle, why don't we call to order, please? If you can call the roll.
Chairperson Pearson?
Here.
Member Shavaro?
Here.
Member Tubbs?
Here.
Thank you. If you can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Why don't we move to item 1, and this is approval of the minutes of the March 19, 2020 board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If none, do I have a motion to approve the board meeting minutes?
Move approval.
I second that motion. It's been moved and seconded that the March 19, 2020 board meeting minutes be approved. All in favor say aye. Aye. The motion passes to approve the minutes. Let's move to item number 2, and this is public comment on items that are not on the agenda. And this is the opportunity for the public to comment, as I said, on items that are not on the agenda. So if you would like to make a public comment, and if you are on the phone, I invite you to unmute your line and please state your name for the record. And I just want to caution folks again, because these are items not on the agenda. The board may not discuss those items or take any action on any item that you may discuss during this part of the board meeting, except we can decide whether to place the matter on a subsequent agenda. Michelle, is there any member of the public that would like to speak during this item?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Why don't we move to item 3, which is the Executive Officer Statement, which will be presented by Interim Executive Officer Linda Gledhill. Linda, would you please give us your report?
Thank you. Good morning, members. I wanted to give you an update. Obviously, as we convene in this extraordinary time, we at CalVCB worked very hard in mid-March to transition our staff, almost all staff, to telework, including our customer service, billing, and claims processing staff. We have minimal staff coming into the office on an as-needed basis, but I'm proud that we haven't missed a beat in our work to help victims of violent crimes. Our call center staff are all working from home, and while the call volume has remained steady, wait times have actually dropped. Also, while at home, we processed about 950 applications more than we processed the month before we were working from home, and payments remain comparable to payments that were issued prior to the stay-at-home order. But we know here at CalVCB that for some, a stay-at-home order brings with it additional challenges and possible victimization. That is why we're actively messaging the resources available for victims who may be isolating with abusers, including detailing compensation available for domestic violence and child abuse victims. Staff has worked closely following applications for domestic violence and emergency requests during this time. We are committed to ensuring assistance is provided for crime victims and meeting their immediate needs. I also want to make sure the board is aware that on April 24th, the Butte County District Attorney is expected to unseal a grand jury indictment against PG&E, who is expected to plead guilty to 84 counts of involuntary manslaughter and 1 count of unlawfully causing a fire. Those criminal charges would allow victims of the fire to apply for benefits from the Victims' Compensation Board. We are working closely with the Governor's Office and Department of Finance to understand the possible fiscal impact to CalVCB, and I will have further updates on this matter at future board meetings. Lastly, CalVCB wants to recognize that there are several important observances during the month of April. April marks Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and next week is National Crime Victims' Rights Week. During this time, CalVCB will continue to raise awareness and recognize these significant observations. While our outreach plan looks different than it did before the stay-at-home order, we are using social media pages to shine a spotlight on survivors and advocates and informing victims of violent crime about the compensation available to them. I will also be participating in several virtual events next week to discuss the work of Cal VCB. April's observances end with Denim Day on Wednesday, April 29th. While we can't all be together, we encourage everyone to participate in this annual event to honor sexual assault victims. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. That was an excellent report. There is a lot going on, and we look forward to future updates on the work that you're doing. If we can move now to item 4, this is the contract update that will be presented by Cal VCB Interim Executive Officer Linda Gledhill again.
Thank you.
Go on, Linda.
Okay, thank you. For board approval, before you is a contract of $825,805 for a statewide public awareness campaign to share information regarding victim compensation and promote the use of the Cal VCB online application. The campaign is part of and paid for by a $2 million grant Cal VCB received from California Office of Emergency Services to improve the delivery of services to victims. The campaign will target hard-to-reach populations via various media outlets. Outreach will be translated into multiple languages, including those identified by the California Complete Counts Committee as being the most prevalent in the state. Cal VCB published a request for proposal for a public relations consultant to assist with the deployment of the campaign. Multiple bids were received, staff reviewed the proposals, and selected Civilian Inc. to assist on this important project. Upon approval from the board, Cal VCB will begin moving forward on development of this public relations campaign.
Thank you. Are there any questions about this proposed contract with Civilian Inc.?
No.
Hearing none, do I have a motion to authorize VCB staff to execute a contract with Civilian Inc. in the amount of $825,805 to develop and implement a statewide public awareness campaign?
Can I just ask a quick question?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
I was on mute. So my only question is, given how everything has changed with COVID-19, could you describe briefly how the public awareness campaign, how it's going to change given the new reality we're in?
Absolutely. That is something that we will work with the contractor on. The target was to translate our materials into 14 languages, which has previously never been done here at Cal VCB. Many languages throughout the state of California, especially we know in micro communities where the need may be great, but the knowledge about our program may be small. So we want to make sure we're going to use micromedia and different ways to reach these communities. We understand that the current situation may impact exactly how we do that. Because this is grant money that we do need to encumber in a certain amount of time, we would like to proceed with the contract and work with the contractor to determine how we may need to alter our plans.
Thank you for that, and I'll second the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to authorize staff to execute a contract with Civilian Inc. in the amount of $825,805. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion to approve authorizing execution of the contract passes. Okay. Let's move to item 5, which is the legislative update that will be presented by Cal VCB Acting Chief Counsel Jenny Wong. Morning, Jenny.
Good morning. I have no legislative updates today.
Okay. Are there any questions to the non-legislative update piece? Hearing none, why don't we move to item 6, please? And this is the Penal Code Section 4900 claim of Lawrence Martin, and it will be presented by Cal VCB Acting Chief Counsel Jenny Wong. Jenny, if you could please brief us on this item, that would be fantastic.
Yes. On December 18, 2019, Lawrence M. Martin submitted an application for compensation as an erroneously convicted person pursuant to Penal Code Section 4900. The application was based on Martin's 19 years imprisonment for a 1998 conviction for possession of a concealed dirk or dagger, which was reversed on habeas corpus by the Santa Clara County Superior Court. The Santa Clara County Superior Court held that Martin's pocket knife did not factually constitute a dirk or dagger because the blade was held open using a spring or friction and is closed by only applying pressure. For 76 days of his sentence, Martin was simultaneously incarcerated for a violation of tampering with a vehicle and possession of controlled substance paraphernalia. Martin did not challenge the validity of either of these convictions. The Attorney General and Martin agree that Martin was entitled to a recommendation of compensation for 7,257 days of incarceration for possession of a concealed dirk or dagger out of his 7,332 total days of incarceration. Accordingly, the proposed decision recommends that the legislature appropriate $1,015,980 as payment to Martin, representing $140 for each of the 7,257 days that he was wrongfully imprisoned for possession of a concealed dirk or dagger.
Thank you, Jenny. It's my understanding that there are members of the public who do want to speak on this agenda item. It is also my understanding that James Bryant, the attorney for Mr. Lawrence Martin, is on the line and would like to make a statement, and possibly Mr. Martin himself.
Yes, thank you. This is James Bryant, and I want to thank the board for having this matter heard before you guys today. I want to first thank the Attorney General's office for understanding the seriousness of this situation, and it's just real injustice that occurred to Mr. Martin. I also want to thank the Victims' Compensation Board hearing officer for really reviewing the information that we've provided, the information that the Attorney General's office provided, and coming up with the recommendation that was presented to this board today. It's been very difficult for Mr. Martin over these nearly 19 years of his life, but I am happy to say that we've got some great people in the Attorney General's office. We had some very understanding officers of the court to understand what was happening to him, and he finally got his freedom, and he's getting some compensation for that time that was taken away from him. And I do have Mr. Martin here today, who is just really sort of at a loss for words for finally getting some sort of compensation for what happened to him. And Mr. Martin, did you want to maybe say a few words yourself to the board, to anybody else?
No, not really. I'm just happy that they're taking it under consideration and giving some compensation. That's all.
Okay, excellent. Well, with that, we would really encourage the board to approve the recommendation of the Victims' Compensation Hearing Officer, and we thank everybody for their time on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant and Mr. Martin. I believe that Deputy Attorney General Barton Bowers is also on the line and may want to say a few words.
Correct. This is Barton Bowers. I do want to thank Mr. Bryant for his kind words. I think there's some thanks that are also due to the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office in this matter. The only other thing I have to say is that the proposed decision is correct in all its particulars, and it should be adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this from the board members?
I'll move approval.
I second that motion. So it's been moved and seconded that staff's proposed decision to grant Lawrence Martin's application for compensation as an erroneously convicted person, and that the legislature appropriate $1,015,980 be approved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mayor Tubbs?
That was me that said aye.
Okay, sorry. The motion to adopt staff's proposed decision passes. Thank you very much, and good luck, Mr. Martin. I hope everything goes well in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Why don't
much.
we move to item 7, and this is Penal Code Section 4900 claim of Michelle Marie Polos. That will be presented by Cal VCB Acting Chief Counsel Jenny Wong. I hope I pronounced Ms. Polos's name correctly, and I'm sorry if I didn't. But Jenny, could you please brief us on this item?
Yes. On January 17, 2019, Michelle Marie Poulos submitted an application for compensation as an erroneously convicted person pursuant to Penal Code Section 4900. The application was based upon Poulos' 15-month imprisonment for a 2001 conviction for criminal threats, which was vacated with a finding of factual innocence in 2017 after the prosecution conceded it no longer had faith in the alleged victim's credibility. Although Poulos had been simultaneously imprisoned for an unrelated conviction for methamphetamine possession, that conviction was dismissed in the interest of justice in 2019 because had it not been for her erroneous criminal threats conviction, Poulos would have been eligible to participate in a rehabilitation program. The application was deemed timely filed on January 2, 2020, after the statutory amendment to Penal Code Section 4901 extended the deadline for submitting Penal Code Section 4900 applications from 2 years following release to 10 years following dismissal. In response, the Attorney General conceded that Poulos was entitled to a recommendation of compensation for all 431 days of her erroneous incarceration for criminal threats, with no reduction for the period of time that she served for methamphetamine possession, as that conviction was no longer valid. Accordingly, the proposed decision recommends that the legislature appropriate $60,340 as payment to Poulos, representing $140 for each of the 431 days that she was wrongfully imprisoned for criminal threats.
Thank you, Jenny. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the board on this item? Michelle, it's my understanding that Deputy Attorney General Barton Bowers wants to address the board on this matter, but is there anyone on the claimant side who'd like to do so as well?
No.
No? Okay. Mr. Bowers, you've got the floor.
Thank you. This is Barton Bowers. Here again, the hearing officer's recommendation is entirely correct, and it should be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, do I have a motion on this claim?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that staff's proposed decision to grant Michelle Marie Poulos' application for compensation as an erroneously convicted person and that the legislature appropriate $60,340 be approved. All in favor say aye. Aye. The motion to adopt staff's proposed decision passes. Now we will move into the victim compensation program of our agenda. This is the closed session item. We'll convene into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 11126, Subdivision C3, to discuss numbers 1 through 29 of the victim compensation program. We will also be discussing a personnel matter pursuant to Government Code Section 11126, Subdivision A. Board members, we will now hang up and we will call into the other number for the closed session part of this meeting. This is Holly Pearson, going back into open session. Hello?
Hello, looks like we're just waiting for the other two members.
You.
Mayor Tubbs here.
Rick is on.
Okay, so Member Tubbs, Chavarro?
Yes, I'm here.
This is Holly Pearson. We're back into open session. The board is reconvening into open session pursuant to Government Code Section 11126, Subdivision C3, pursuant to Government Code Sections 11126.3 and 11125.2. The board reports regarding the personnel action that was identified for closed session. No action was taken by the board during closed session, and the matter will be put back on the agenda for a future board meeting. And as to the Victims' Compensation Program matters, do I have a motion for numbers 1 through 29 of the Victim Compensation Program?
So moved.
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that staff's recommendations for numbers 1 through 29 of the Victims' Compensation Program be adopted. All in favor say aye. Aye. The motion to adopt staff's recommendations for numbers 1 through 29 passes. Thank you. Is there any other business that needs to come before the board?
Nope.
Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned, and the next meeting is scheduled to occur on May 21st. Everyone stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much. Signing off now.